I know we get a lot of questions, kind of right now in January, the beginning of the year and everything. How do I get kind of kick started? Because we may have, tasted, sampled, and baked a lot of, holiday treats and sipped on a little bit too much champagne, all that kind of stuff. So our bodies have really gotten out of a fat burning mode. So we've gotten more into the sugar burning mode, which means those sugar cravings and weight loss and all that kind of stuff can kind of slam on the brakes and come to a halt. So some of the things that might help with that kind of kickstart, number one is we always usually recommend kind of going back to Shake Week. I know that's can be a little daunting and just yucky, but it really does kind of help to kind of kickstart things and give the body a little bit of a break, kind of get it back into a fat burning mode. You don't have to do it a whole week. You can just do maybe 3 to 4 days, just kind of depending on how your body feels. If you start feeling things are kind of getting back into gear after 3 days, then just jump right back on plan. Having those 3 on plan meals a day and just kind of getting back into the routine. It may take a little bit longer, or you may need to do a whole week where you do every other day where you're doing 2 shakes a day and that 1 on plan meal. So just kind of gauge how your body feels. The other thing is those supplements really do help. With sugar cravings, those sea vegetables are going to be gold because they're going to get that inflammation back down. They're going to get that acidity level balanced back out again. So you're going to find that you're not trying to use willpower, that you're actually hacking your biochemistry. So those sea vegetables are going to help. The metabolic drops are fantastic for that as well because it helps to, number one, bring the fat out of storage and start using it for fuel. But it also helps with hunger too, but not in an appetite suppressant type of way. It helps to kind of retrain your brain. So, because how many times do we eat when we're not hungry? So it's about knowing those signals and knowing those cues. And that's a hormone inside your brain that actually works that. So it's about getting that hormone kind of back into balance so that you know when your body's actually hungry and when you're just bored. So there's a big difference. But other than that, the cleanse drops are going to be helpful too, because with a lot of those, indulgences, we tend to kind of build up toxins. The liver slows down, it stops processing properly and stuff. So those cleanse drops really kind of help to support your liver in doing that and detoxing and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of as far as the supplements. There's a lot of other things that are going to be helpful to kind of get back on track too, is just getting back into that routine and just taking one day at a time, one meal at a time, whatever it takes. Just know, don't look too far ahead. Don't think of the whole year. That can be very overwhelming. Just think of this month or this week or this day, just one day at a time. That's all it takes.
And that kind of leads into, we don't expect perfection. Nobody's perfect. So it's just little habits, little changes here. So I want to recommend, I know, please don't do that, but if you like to read, or even if you don't like to read, this book, Atomic Habits, you can download it on Audible, listen to it a few minutes at a time. Changed my life. Because here's the thing about life. Here's the thing about our plan. Like Melinda said, it's one step at a time. You don't have to, people kind of look at the plan and they get overwhelmed. And they start with Shake Week and the drops and the creams, and they're changing this and they're changing that. And then they get overwhelmed and then they get frustrated and then they stop. So in this book, he tells this story about the British racing team. And for those of you who have heard me talk about this, I apologize, but it's worth repeating. So the British racing team was one of the worst teams in the world. They couldn't win a race to save their lives. And so they got this new coach, and instead of coming in and cleaning house like most coaches do and like we tend to do, he came in and he started making these little 1% changes, down to like, what kind of mattress did the athletes get their best sleep on? What kind of material did their uniforms need to be made out of to make it the most aerodynamic? What bike seat was comfortable for the individual? They painted the inside. I found this really interesting. They painted the inside of their van white because that showed dust better. And dust would get in the way of how the bikes operated and how well they performed. So just these little tiny changes, one at a time. You make one change and you go with that and you see how you do. And that works and it becomes a habit. And so you make another change and that works. So what's the change you have to make? I'll tell you, for me, I'd kind of gotten out of the habit of drinking water. So for me, instead of carrying my water bottle around all day and trying to remember how many times I filled it up, I went back to what worked for me the first time I did this plan. Well, what worked for me was to fill up all my water bottles in the morning, put them in the refrigerator. That way I know when I get to the end of the day, if the refrigerator is empty, I've had all my water. So that's where I started to just make that 1% change for me. So you make a 1% change over the course of the year, you've gotten 33% better. The flip side of that is if you make bad choices just 1% of the day, every single day, at the end of the year, you're kind of in the negative. So our choices matter. And that's where that mindful eating comes in. Every day before you eat, ask yourself, am I hungry? Or is it time for me to eat? If it's been 5 or 6 hours since you've eaten, it's time for you to eat. If you're not hungry, walk away, go find something else to do. Put in another activity where that habit of sitting down in the evening and eating used to be. I'm really bad about eating in front of the TV. So I've kind of cut down on my TV consumption. But you have to change that habit and fill it with something else. But just 1%. So like Melinda said, start with Shake Week. Guess what? You can do Shake Week every other day. If every day doesn't work for you, do it every other day. You've still made that 1% change that will get you started to a better pattern. And always remember that we are here for you. You have access to the Ask Dr. Childers email, askdrchilders@gmail.com. We monitor that all day long. We will answer you within 24 hours. If it's been a while since you've been in and you want some guidance on how to get back started and what drops you should take and that sort of thing, we can set up a consult and you can come in and talk for 15 minutes and we'll help you figure out what to buy. But it's just the little changes, and guess what? Someday is not a day of the week. I just sent that out